Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, and in today's video, I will be bringing you guys my Week 16 updated playoff picture outlook for the Washington Commanders, and I'll also give you guys injury updates on Zach Ertz, Jeremy Chinn, and Tyler Biadasz. So, before we get into today's video, make sure y'all leave a like down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and with that out of the way, let's get straight into today's video. So this is how the current playoff picture for the NFC is looking like. Let's start from the top. The Lions, they hold the first seed right now. Them and the Eagles are 12-2 right now. So the first seed could be interesting over the next couple of weeks. Will the Lions be able to hold on to it? They have the better conference record than the Eagles. That's why they have the first seed right now. But if they drop next week's game, and who do they play next week actually? I want to say they play the Vikings if I'm not mistaken, or maybe they play the Bears next week, and then they play the Vikings week 18. So the week 18 game versus the Vikings could be a very interesting matchup, because if the Vikings beat the Raiders tonight, or not the Raiders tonight, sorry, the Bears tonight, the Falcons actually play the Raiders tonight, which we'll get to in a second, but if the Vikings beat the Bears tonight, then they go to 12-2. Both of those teams are 12-2. Now, the reason why the Vikings wouldn't be leading the NFC North is because they lost to the Lions, I think, back in like week 5 or week 6 or maybe even week 7. I'm not 100% sure, but they lost to the Lions earlier this season. So the Lions have the tiebreaker over them, right? So, kind of helps them out there. But, hey, man, the NFC North race, it could get a little bit interesting. I still think the Lions will hold on and win that division, but they got injuries. They suffered more injury versus the Bears yesterday. Ali McNeil got injured. He's out for the year. David Montgomery, he's out for the year. The starting cornerback, Carlton Davis, he's out for the year. So they got a lot of guys on the injured reserve. They already did before yesterday's game, and they got even more guys injured. So, could get a little bit ugly for them down this stretch. And the Vikings and Eagles, they're starting to creep up a little bit. So, we'll see with them. Obviously, the Eagles are the second seed. The Bucks are the third seed at 8-6. They basically control their own destiny. If they continue to win, then they will win that division. The Rams are 8-6. The Seahawks lost last night versus the Packers. We were kind of rooting for them to win that game, because if the Packers lost, then we would have moved up to the 6th seed, right? So would have been really good for us, but unfortunately the Seahawks lost. So the Rams, they have the 4th seed right now, which means that they are leading the NFC West right now. The Vikings clinched the playoff berth last night, so they're in the playoffs. They have an 11-2 record. They are the 5th seed right now. The Packers obviously hold the 6th seed, and then obviously your Commanders at 9-5 hold the 7th seed. So as of right now, we still hold the 7th seed, obviously, and whatever happens next week, week 16, that won't change. We will still have the 7th seed, and 10 wins, you could say, kind of is a number that will probably get you into the playoffs. Maybe 11, because, the Seahawks are still behind us. They are 1.5 games behind us, because we do have a better conference record than them. So they would most likely have to finish a game ahead of us in order to actually make the playoffs over us, because the Rams, will they win out? I'm not sure. I know they play the Seahawks the final week of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So the Seahawks still have a chance to win that division. However, Geno Smith, he's out for a while, right? He's week to week right now. He may miss next week's game. So if they don't have him for this stretch, then the Rams could easily win that division. They play the Jets next week, and I see them beating the Jets, right? So, we'll see with that division. Right now, though, it's looking real bad for the Seahawks. The Cardinals, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's either going to be the Rams or Seahawks or both. We'll see. If we don't take care of business, the Seahawks could sneak their way into the playoffs, but right now I see it as a one big division, the NFC West. And then behind the Cardinals, the Falcons. Would be cool if the Cardinals lost tonight to the Raiders to just create more distance, but that game, the Falcons are probably going to beat the Raiders, right? The Raiders suck. So, don't really have much hope for that game in terms of the Cardinals, or not the Cardinals, sorry, the Falcons losing. And then behind the Falcons, everybody else really don't matter. The Niners, Cowboys, Saints, Bears, Panthers, Giants, right? So as for a rooting guide, at this point, the 5th seed, the Vikings got that on locks, right? They're probably going to beat the Bears tonight. Divisional game, so probably will be somewhat close, but I think the Vikings got that one in the bag. The Packers, them potentially losing to the Seahawks last night would have helped us a lot in terms of trying to get the 6th seed. However, they won. I don't, see them losing a lot of their games down the stretch. They'll probably win at least 2 out of 3 of their games down the stretch. So I still see them holding on to that 6th seed. So at this point, we're probably just going to have to hold on to the 7th seed. And we have a good chance to do so, beating the Saints yesterday in that stressful win, right? Shouldn't have been that close. But, beating the Saints yesterday helped us get one step closer to the playoffs, to tasting the playoffs, to touching the playoffs. We're 9-5. You could say that, I mentioned earlier, you could say that 10 wins is the lucky number. That may be the number that gets you into the playoffs. It's not a given, right? Because, like I said, the Seahawks are still behind us, and the Rams, if they fall out of first place of the NFC West, they could get a wild card spot. So we shall see. But, 10 wins should get you into the playoffs, in my opinion. But if you want to be on the safe side and basically guarantee you going to the playoffs, then winning 2 out of these last 3 games will definitely guarantee you getting to the playoffs, because that's 11 wins right there, right? The Vikings got 11 wins. They already clinched a playoff spot. Obviously, the Lions and Eagles got 12 wins. They already clinched a playoff spot. And the Packers, next week, they can clinch a playoff spot, probably with just a win, and they'll get to 11. So, 10 almost guarantees you to get to the playoffs, but 11 basically 100% guarantees you to go to the playoffs. So that's that right there. As for obviously a rooting guide, we really can't move up in seeding. I mean, we still could. The Packers, they could drop one of their games in the last 3, and we could, obviously win 2 or 3 more. Maybe win last 3, maybe win 2 more. We shall see, which could help us move up into the 6th seed spot. But right now, really just focus on holding on to the 7th seed. Obviously, I feel like rooting against the Seahawks would be great, because the Rams, they got control of that division right now, so you don't want to, get really close to the Seahawks. Rooting against the Cardinals and Falcons, although I think the Falcons, they got to win their division in order to make the playoffs, so I'm not too worried about them. The Cardinals, they're 7-7. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs either, but just in case, root against them these last 3 weeks, just in case, and to create more distance, obviously. And really, that's about it. Nobody else after the Falcons really scares me, like the Niners, Cowboys, Saints. They're not going to do anything, right? So, that's that. Rooting against the Rams, that would be a good idea as well. If the Seahawks are able to jump back up front of them and take that first place spot in the division away from them, then, rooting against them would be a good thing as well. So really, the main teams you want to root against over the last 3 weeks of the season, in my opinion, are the Rams and Seahawks and Cardinals and Falcons as well, if you would like to. So that is the updated playoff picture outlook. And just a real quick update on Zach Ertz, Jeremy Chinn, and Tyler Biadasz. Let's start with Tyler Biadasz. Dan Quinn said in his press conference today that Biadasz should be available for the Eagles game. He's feeling much better. His fever has gone down. He should be good from the illness that kind of popped up before yesterday's game. So it's going to be good to have Tyler Biadasz back. You could clearly see while watching the game that we needed him back. Michael Dieter, he wasn't terrible yesterday, but he wasn't Tyler Biadasz. And there were times where we got beat pretty bad, right? So we definitely needed Tyler Biadasz yesterday. So hopefully, he's going to be back for the Eagles game. Well, it sounds like he is. It's just an illness, so I do expect him to be back for the Eagles game this week. And then Ertz and Jeremy Chinn are in concussion protocol. That is very unfortunate. Obviously, Ertz, went down after that one-handed catch, that tremendous one-handed catch, right? It was an awesome catch by him, but he hit his head hard on the ground, and he did not return for the rest of the game. He was diagnosed with a concussion, so he's probably going to miss this week's game, along with Jeremy Chinn. Now, there have been some guys around the league who have come back from concussion in the same week, but most guys suffering a concussion on the previous Sunday or the previous game day do not come back the next week. It usually takes them a week to recover from the concussion, or 2 weeks to recover from the concussion. So if I had to guess, Chinn and Zach Ertz will most likely be back from the concussion next week against the Falcons. So, who will step up in their places? We'll see if they give Ben Sinnott more opportunities at tight end. Obviously, they're going to use John Bates a good amount. And then as for safety, they'll probably give Percy Butler and Derek Forrest a good amount of snaps. And then obviously Quan Martin will be on the field as well. So those are your injury updates on Jeremy Chinn, Zach Ertz, and Tyler Biadasz. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And other than that, it's been King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.